Salutations to you, YouTube, and welcome back into the Hollywood Rip Studio for episode 27, I believe, of the Cardboard Critics Sports Card Podcast, the show where we target a few cards that you should be considering investing in going forward or panic selling. Thanks for joining us. As always, I'm Mr. Hollywood, joined by my partner in crime since middle school. That's Joe Nasty, to my right, your left. Remember, disclaimer, the views and suggestions in this show are the sole opinions of us and do not constitute investment advice. Please consult an investment professional for any investment decisions. With that, off and running, we start this week's show off with someone we talk about once a month. It is Victor Wembanyama. Here we go again. Center for the San Antonio Spurs. But this one, I mean, do we even say center at this point? The point guard, shooting guard, small forward, whatever. Plays every position for the San Antonio Spurs. His 2023 Prism Silver in a PSA 10 is down 31.5% over the past 3 months. It is now just $724 per card. One of these sold for $660 last week. I don't know if that was paid for or not. I'm assuming it was, considering it was so cheap. But Wemby's picked it up quite a bit in the last few weeks. He's averaging 23.4, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 3.6 blocks on 47% shooting and just about 34% from downtown. In November, he's averaging 25.7. We'll say that's 26. 9.7. We'll say that's 10. 3 assists, 3.7 blocks on 49% shooting and 37 just about percent shooting from downtown. The Spurs are 10 and 9. They actually aren't horrific this year, so you can't really make fun of them like last year. Getting Devin Vassell back was actually a big deal for them just a few games ago. He is a difference maker on offense for them. So while this may not be the year that the Spurs make the playoffs, Wemby is still getting better. He has improved. And he did have a 50-point game the other week, I think. And this card will explode when he does make the playoffs and has a big series win. I think Wemby stuff is at this point is more of a long-term hold than anything. But keep in mind that this was a $2,000 card at one point.
True.
Last year. And this card was $1,000, $900 to $1,000 all summer. Like the whole off season. Then the season starts and now it's $700 and he has improved and the Spurs have improved. I don't know about you guys. I think it's a very reasonable buy at $700. If I could get this card for $700, if I could get this card for $660 like someone paid on eBay, I would for sure buy this card and just stash it away. Because there is no player in the NBA with a higher ceiling than Victor Wembanyama.
Right.
And they are they are really one superstar away from being real legit. And I mean like real legit in the West. I know the West is tough, but they're holding their own at a game over 500 now, I think. $700. I have no problems buying a Wemby Silver at $700. Keep in mind, like, Ant-Man's like over 1,000 or was over 1,000. Luka's still well over 1,000, right? Wemby at 700 seems like a good price, considering I think his ceiling is higher than Anthony Edwards. I think his ceiling is higher than Luka Doncic. That's just my opinion. $700 silver of Wemby, what do you think?
I think I'm in, actually. As crazy as that sounds. As we're sitting here recording this, he just recorded his third career triple-double.
Yeah.
He scored 34 points in that triple-double. I think the prices went down, and we did talk about it a few weeks ago, and that he got off to a really slow start. And that's fine. God forbid the 20-year-old or whatever from France starts a little bit slow in his sophomore campaign. Coming off the Olympics, mind you, so he didn't really have an off-season. But he's picked it up. And you just said, and initially, when you were like, they could make the playoffs, I was like, absolutely not. You're a crazy person. Also, the playoff thing, I don't think is going to happen. But I look at the standings.
But they're there.
So they're in a play-in spot. And the teams ahead of them, mainly the Suns, Lakers, Rockets, and Warriors to me. Would you be really surprised if those teams really stay up that high?
I think they're going to fade.
You think
Those legs are too old.
the Spurs or the teams that I just mentioned?
No, the teams ahead of them.
I agree. I also just don't think those teams are very good.
I agree.
At this point. Like the Rockets are young, but not there yet.
I think the Nuggets will shoot up the standings.
The Nuggets will.
You
Expect the Timberwolves to get in there. You expect maybe the Kings maybe to get in there in terms of teams who could take their playoff spot. But they're battling with teams that I don't think are going to hold these spots as we sit here at the beginning of December. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, I don't know if I mentioned this in the other 87 times we've talked about Big Vic over the course of this show. But the fact that the free agents that they brought in, namely Chris Paul, spoke a lot. Like, we can sit here and talk about him all you want. We know so much basketball, don't get me wrong. But, like so much. But for a guy like Chris Paul, who hasn't won anything, and is at the end of his career, and could have ring chased, but instead was like, I'm going to go to San Antonio. That said a lot to me. Maybe it was the only contract he was offered. I don't know. But I felt like that was a pretty big deal that Chris Paul was like, I'm going to go play with Wembanyama. I'm going to see what's going on. I'm going to teach him how to go about in the NBA. Hopefully he doesn't teach him anything about winning in the playoffs because we don't need that.
Yeah, he doesn't need that.
But apart from that, like, that spoke as much volume to me as anything I'll see on the court or on YouTube or what have you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the fact that we're in and he's starting to get his feet back under him, this reminds me a lot of the conversation we had about Ohtani at the beginning of this show. Mm-hmm. Was like, get in now. He's going to make the playoffs. He's probably going to make the playoffs this year. You don't know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I think we're having the same conversation right now. And I don't know if Wemby's going to make the playoffs this year, but we're starting to have those conversations, which means you need to start getting in there.
Yeah, we're starting to have the conversations. And at the end of the day, this is a $700 card right now, right? This is not a $1,000 card anymore. Mm-mm. And so for that matter, given the talent level, I think very reasonable to be buying a Wemby Silver Prism in a PSA 10 for $700. Moving on to investment card of the week, number 2. And maybe we're going to differ on this one. I don't know. That's why we debate it. But let's talk about Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts. His 2020 Silver Prism in a PSA 10 is down 54.9% over the past year. Okay, it's $393 per card. Let's call it $400. This card was $1,000. The card, the week that they made the Super Bowl in 2023. Now we're gonna put a bunch of graphics on your screen right now that show what the price of this Jalen Hurts Silver was during that playoff run. I think we have a chart from January 29th, which would have been kind of NFC Championship game around there. Mm-hmm. The card was $1,050. We have another graphic for you from February 5th, was the weekend before leading up to the Super Bowl. Actually came down a little bit to $949, but this card did top out over $1,000. It is now $393. He's thrown for 2,376 yards on the season with 13 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. That is not updated with today's stats. Mm-hmm. Completing 69% of his passes for a 102.3 rating. He has run the ball 115 times for 456 yards and 11 touchdowns. He's basically an okay quarterback,
right,
and a pretty good running back in one package. The Eagles have been the best team in football for about 2 months now, with an average win margin of, I think they're scoring like 31 points a game, and they're giving up 14 over the past 2 months, which is nuts. Their defense has completely turned it around. The offensive line has completely turned it around.
They have.
Saquon Barkley's been nuts, unstoppable. Hurts is basically, it's funny. Saquon and Hurts are basically like Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery.
Just one throws it a little bit better.
Yeah, just one throws it a little better. I really like the Eagles because they've been here before. They've been there before. They've been to the Super Bowl. And they've been to these big games. They have the experience. They have big playability. They have an elite defense. They have one of the best home field advantages in the NFL. And at $393, even if I don't believe that Jalen Hurts' arm is that good, I actually really like this play, potentially, if they can get the number one overall seed in the NFC over the Lions and have home field. How likely is that to happen? Well, the Eagles finish this season playing the Panthers and the Steelers at home.
Okay.
Then they go to Washington, but then they finish with the Cowboys and Giants at home. I could see them running that table going 5-0, but I'm just going to give myself I'm going to just stay realistic and say let's say they go 4-1 through that stretch, right? They're one game behind the Lions right now. The Lions have to go through the Packers, the Bills, the Bears. I think they go to San Francisco to play the Niners. And then they finish with the Vikings. It's a much tougher schedule. So I could see the Eagles leapfrogging the Lions for home field. Even so, I still like this play, even if they get to an NFC Championship game in Detroit and lose to Detroit. Because if you just get a single win in the playoffs, like the price of your cards bumps up. And the fact of the matter is Jalen Hurts, they're 10-2, destroying the league right now, and he is at lows. So, in my opinion, I think it could be a good buying time to flip opportunity. Your worst case scenario is what? This card goes to $350 from $390. I mean, big whoop, right? But the upside is they make a deep run or get home field advantage or make a Super Bowl, and all of a sudden you're looking at a $600, $700, $800 card again. I think this is one of those opportunities where the positives outweigh the potential negatives. Your thoughts on this one?
Well, you said it. If you win a playoff game, your value jumps up exponentially, and they're going to win a playoff game, especially in this NFC. Maybe it won't be as the number one seed in the second round, but especially if they don't get that number one seed and they are playing on Wild Card Weekend, they're definitely going to win that game because I don't know who else. I do. Like, the NFC North is not... It's fine, but like they would steamroll whoever in Philadelphia. The NFC West, as much as it kills me to say, is pretty mid, and then the NFC South is putrid. So I like the Eagles' chances of at least winning a playoff game. The Eagles have had an unbelievable roster for a few years now. 2 years ago, I would have said like bye, as in like B-U-Y, not like bye.
Yeah.
Last year though, not so hot. So now we seem to have found the nice little middle, the middle ground for Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. I don't want to use those fateful words that start with a G and an M because I don't think he manages the game necessarily. But you look at a game where they went on the road and just beat Baltimore 24-19.
Yeah.
Well, he threw for 118 yards. I gave him an extra yard. That's sort of his game. And I watched the beginning of that game, and the stat is right there for everyone to see. During this winning streak, he's accounted for a ton of touchdowns, and he hasn't given the ball away. That's all they need. If you don't have that throw, run it with your big, powerful 600-pound squatting legs. Do your tush pushes and hand that ball off, baby. Mm-hmm. And so if you think there's value in that, then great. If you don't, I totally understand.
So are you buying it? $393.
I think they're basically ticketed for the NFC Championship game, so it's tough to say no. But I'm going to say no. I don't know. There's something about Jalen Hurts that I think last year is like still sticking with me. Because I doubted him until that Super Bowl run, and then he dropped the ball all over the place.
Yeah.
And had that bad year.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I don't know. There's something. I don't love their coaching staff either.
Yeah, I don't either.
I love their front office. I don't love their coaching staff.
But again, this is a $390 card. I don't see how it's. Even if they lose first round in the playoffs, I don't see it being less than $350 maybe.
You said this is lows for him?
I mean, yeah, this is
if
this
this
is
is-
pretty close to lows.
Then I might reconsider.
I mean, dude, this was over $1,000
Okay. Like 2 years ago.
just when they made the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah. I might reconsider that then because that's such a good roster,
But
barring
like,
injury.
yeah, but I mean, keep in mind that this card's down 55% this season.
So people are feeling what I feel.
They're feeling what you feel, but I'm saying I don't know how much lower it can go. And this team is looking pretty darn good in a weak NFC.
Say Saquon gets included in the wrong block and then goes down. Then you're kind of screwed, right?
No, I still think they're fine. I still think they're fine. The offensive line is good enough. Moving to invest card number 3. It is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We've talked about him before. Oklahoma City guard. His 2018 Prism Silver and Raw condition is down 25.2% to $119 per card. This was a $165 card 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, but what? The Thunder are 16-4, first in the West, with a plus 10.7 differential in their wins. And they are playing without their second best player. They're without Chet Holmgren, who has like a broken hip or something. Did we forget that this is the best player on the best team in the Western Conference, maybe the best team in the NBA? 2024, he's averaging 30 points a game, 5.3 rebounds, 6.6 assists, a block, 1.7 steals on 50.3% shooting. Now we know he's someone who can back it down in the post for a guard.
Yep.
33.9% from downtown. But have we lost our minds, guys? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is down 25%, and they're the best team in basketball. And Chet Holmgren isn't even playing. Like, what's going on? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should be being bought right now.
Yeah.
Down. I get it. It's Oklahoma City, like not the sexiest market, but come on, Sega. This dude's a stud.
Yeah.
$119, down 25%. Give me it all day.
That's a joke. I watched the NBA Cup matchup against the Lakers the other day. And on a court that had LeBron James and Anthony Davis on it, plus Anthony Reeves, who gets a lot of shine, and Dalton Connect, who the people just love.
Yeah, DK.
Yeah. Connect 4. How fun. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander outshone them all.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. He is unbelievable.
He's insane.
And so people who have let this card drop this just frankly haven't watched him play. Best player, one of the best teams in the league, best team in the West, yes. It's easy. If you have a half a brain, you get in now because he's that good. And they're primed. They're going to make their run this year, I feel like. Maybe not all the way to the finals, but like probably a Western Conference Finals if they stay healthy.
I think this is a team, assuming Chet is back and healthy, I have a hard time believing that this team is not almost a lock to be in the Western Conference Finals. I could see them having some trouble with a real tough team in the West Finals if and when that time comes. But
yeah, but I don't know who in the West right now, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we need things to shake out a little more because some of these teams have a lot of new pieces and are still trying to gel.
Sure.
Speaking of which, new teams with new pieces that are trying to gel, possible invest card number 4, and this one's kind of an iffy one, but it's Nikola Jokic, Denver Nuggets, of course, center for the Denver Nuggets, out of Serbia. His 2015 Prism Silver in a PSA 9 is, you would think more, but it is up 1% over the past 90 days. That's it. Although it's $796 per card, so it's an $800 card. But what's crazy is that is basically the same since the season started.
Right.
And in case you've missed it, besides the fact that the Nuggets are like 10-8, which is not really that great compared to how they normally are, Jokic is averaging 30 points a game, 13 rebounds, and closer to 11 assists a game on 57% shooting. And get this one, he's shooting 53% from downtown.
Huh.
I don't know how many attempts that is.
Regardless, though.
But that's crazy. And I don't know if you guys saw this graphic, which I'm going to put on your screen now. But this graphic was from a week ago. As of November 23rd, which is exactly a week from the filming of this episode, Jokic was averaging more points than Shaq's highest points per year. He was averaging more rebounds than Tim Duncan's best rebounding year ever. Mm-hmm. He was averaging more assists than Chris Paul's best assist average in a year ever. Like, just think about that for a second. He was the best strength of all of those players in one player. He was Chris Paul, Tim Duncan, and Shaq in one
player.
In one player. Just think about that. Like, I know this card is expensive. It is. It's $800. And it's not down. Right? This card's not down. It's up 1%. But what Jokic is doing is some really historic stuff. It's really historic stuff. And I just think that it's a card to keep an eye on if and when the Nuggets really start to get going and start gelling this year with their new roster changes, probably after they waive Russell Westbrook in a couple months. Because, let's be honest, we don't need to talk about Russell Westbrook. He literally makes every team he's gone to worse. I will admit that Jokic is probably the least marketable player in professional sports.
He doesn't want to be.
Exactly. He doesn't want to be there. Like, I don't even know that he likes basketball.
He likes basketball to pay for his horse. No, like, he loves horses.
He
uses basketball to
But, I have to, if Jokic stays healthy, man, like, I gotta think, I mean, this dude is gonna go down as one of the greatest NBA players of all time if he stays healthy for the next, 3-4 years. I mean, this dude, it's scary how much better he is than every other player in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And for me, the fact that he's doing this again, and even to a greater extent, you heard what he was averaging.
I did.
Like, I don't think this card should be up 1%.
No.
I think this card should be up maybe 10% or 15% based on what he's doing this year. And I get it's not Denver's not the sexy market and he's not marketable and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, this is historic stuff that Jokic is doing. I don't have a problem at buying this card in a PSA 9 at $796 if you have the excess cash. Nuggets, I will never count out in the playoffs.
Not with him on the roster.
Yeah, what do you think?
But Jokic is amazing, right? I mean,
he's nuts.
I think he's Nuggets. I think the only issue is people may just have Jokic fatigue. I don't know where the hate or the distaste comes from. Maybe it's just because maybe we like seeing the freaks go out there and do it, like the muscular, long, lanky guys instead of the big flabby Serbian who doesn't seem to care.
Yeah.
But he's a big flabby Serbian who was drafted during a Taco Bell commercial, doesn't really care, and is better than your favorite player. The numbers are there, the rings are now there for the most part.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We're not even waiting on playoff success. He's the best player in the league, and it's just tough for people. Like Giannis goes out there and he's a freak, and then you have Jason Tatum in his beautiful game, and here's Jokic lumbering around.
Yeah.
Just with this wacky hand movement. It's like, what do you want me to do?
His wacky stuff and his extra tire around his waist.
I know, and his brothers are out there beating up everyone in the crowd. It's it's not NBA culture that we love necessarily. That's the only reason it hasn't blown up, because he's putting up a career year and a career that's already Hall of Fame worthy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think this is pretty normal though. People always want to buy the new hype, right?
Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards is the next coming of Jesus, and so is Wemby, and so is Luka as the new face of the league. And then it was, when Giannis came in, it was Giannis mania with everything. And once you've been doing it for 5, 6 years, 7 years, people start to forget about you. But in the reality, Jokic will go down if he doesn't get hurt. He'll go down as one of the 50 greatest NBA players of all time.
Yeah.
I think without question.
Yeah.
Just based on the numbers, and this dude's going to win multiple championships. He's going to average triple doubles. I mean, this isn't Russell Westbrook averaging triple doubles and then like just bricking every shot in the playoffs.
No.
This dude makes his team way better.
He's already led them to a title.
Yeah, exactly. So I have no problems with you buying it at $796. I might buy it at $796, although my wife would probably kill me. But that'll wrap things up for us here at the Hollywood Rip Studio for episode 27 of the Cardboard Critics Sports Card Podcast. Hope you enjoyed this week's show. If you agreed, disagreed, or you were just on the fence, it doesn't matter. Drop a comment below and have a chat with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel as well so we can keep doing this for you guys. Otherwise, we will probably die like a slow, withering death that unsuccessful YouTube channels do, unfortunately.
There's unsuccessful YouTube channels?
Nah, they all succeed.
They're all monetized.
They're all monetized. We all do so well.
Yeah.
We don't. Not yet. Not yet. With your guys' help, maybe. But I'm Mr. Hollywood. That's Joe Nasty, and we'll see you next week. The Joe Bro, Mr. Hollywood. Snap with me. Out.